Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Clone Hero Podcast. Today's a very special episode where we have a lot of guests, and this is the Charting Podcast with your host, me, Garrythemod, and as well, Sygenysis, who is hosting with me as well.
Whoa, I'm not Zero Hearts. What am I doing here? Whoa, this is so weird. Whoa.
It's a special host. Oh my god. Alright, so, first off, let's introduce our host. We have Miscellany here. Miss, what's your favorite charting program and how long have you been charting for?
I use Fritar and I'm charting since 2008. Just joking, I use Edit on Fire and I'm charting since almost 2 years.
And we also have Jdurand, also known as Jeremy. Jeremy, what's your favorite charting program and how long have you been charting for?
Hey, how's it going? I've been charting for about 10 years, so since 2007, and my favorite charting program is Feedback Chart Editor.
We also have Cyclops Dragon here. What's your favorite charting program and how long have you been charting for?
Currently my favorite charting program is Moonscraper. I've been charting for just under 9 years at this point.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Chemfinal. Chem, how long have you been charting for and what's your favorite charting program?
I've been charting since 2014, so almost 4 years, and my favorite charting program is Notepad. just kidding. It's actually Moonscraper.
Okay, good. So we got a lot of varieties here in the years of charting. So I might as well just get completely started. Let's start with you, Jdurand, since you've charted for the longest. How did you get into charting?
Okay, so I was actually at a friend's house. My friend Devin I used to go to middle school with, and his older we used to actually play Guitar Hero at his house. And his older brother actually showed us a video from actually a guy on YouTube called Big Homie Jet, and he actually did a lot of charts back in 2007. And he had a song that he charted with Dueling Banjos from Deliverance, the movie. And it got me into charting. I was like, wait, this is a thing? People actually make custom songs? And I found feedback from a forum on Score Hero, and I've been charting ever since.
That's pretty awesome. Cyclops, how did you get started?
For me, it was a combination of finding out that custom charts were a thing, and slowly starting to realize that the charts in the official games weren't quite as good as they could be. Over time I realized that's somewhat of an understatement, but it was sort of like, when you realize that custom charting is a thing, you suddenly have all these ideas. Oh my god, what if this song was in the game? What if this song was in the game? And then it feels good to actually be able to back that up and learn how to do it. So that was what got me into it, was the learning process. And also, a funny story, since I'm a musician, I've been studying music for a while, charting is actually a very good ear training exercise to sort of like develop your hearing and listening abilities. So that was another reason why I got into it and why I stuck with it.
Yeah, but that's pretty awesome. I do think that with charting, like, sometimes you have people that have, like, tastes in music that are very just, like, none of the songs of the bands they like have been charted, and charting is a neat way to just, like, get their music in the game for you to play it. That's
exactly.
Yeah, that's really neat. So, Miss, what got you into charting?
Back in 2016, I was casually playing the Guitar Hero for like 3 years since I got back into the game, and I wanted to play a song by Gojira, and I couldn't find a chart for it, so I was just like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna chart it myself. And I charted the song, then I just stopped doing things, and afterwards, back when I was doing album reviews, I got sent an album that I actually wanted to play, and that got me into charting everyday songs and again and again and again. And since then I never stopped charting. So that's how I actually started to chart songs.
That's awesome. And, well, I wouldn't normally do this because Sygen is a host here, but I might as well because he charts as well. Sygen, what got you into charting?
So, I started in 2014, around, actually 2013, back when, I think the last day of high school, there was basically no pressure to do any work at all because you graduated, you're getting out. So I brought Guitar Hero 3 on my laptop on the last day of school, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. People enjoyed it, and then eventually, So with a bunch of friends, I was like, oh, like this would be really neat to do online with other people. But Guitar Hero 3 was dead at that point. Well, okay, no, I'm not gonna say anything, but So I found a phase shift, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool. I'm gonna I'm gonna find some songs to play." And then I wasn't really satisfied with some of the charts that I saw, like on the old Frets on Fire forums. So I was like, maybe I'll get into this. And I don't know. I've been charting ever since.
That's awesome. All right, so Cam, you ready to say what you wanted to say?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So back in 2014, freshman year of high school, I had been playing Guitar Hero since 3 came out, and I was wanting to make custom songs for ever since that game came out, since I wanted to put all the songs I wanted in it. And I didn't know about feedback or anything like that. I didn't even know that that was a thing. And I got Guitar Hero 3 PC for my laptop, and then eventually found feedback. And from there, it just kind of turned into me trying to chart whatever random stuff I can find and what I like. No one had really... Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just making sure. Yeah, it wasn't like anyone told me about it. No one really played it, since it was pretty much dead at the time. But I'd really wanted to start doing stuff ever since, like GH tunes from GH5 and Warriors of Rock. I wanted to do custom songs ever since then.
All right, well, that's pretty awesome to hear. Now that we know how everyone got into charting, I'm going to ask Jeremy this because he's been around for so long. He's been charting for 9 years. Jeremy, you've been charting for so long, how did you keep the motivation to do it?
Okay, so yeah, sure, no problem. Music's like a really big part of my life, and I actually started playing piano when I was around 6, just kind of by ear. And I've kind of been the perfectionist in my family, so I've always wanted to improve on a lot of things other than just music. But what really helps is just finding new music that really gets sparks your interest, and also just seeing the end result and seeing the people that play them give good feedback. But yeah, I feel like those are the big 3 things that keeps me going.
Awesome. And you too, Miss actually, because you post the chart every day, don't you? Like at least one a day or so. That's kind of your average.
I actually almost post a chart per day, but in general, I usually end up charting 2 songs a day, and I've been keeping my motivation to chart songs just because I'm a player at first, like everybody here, I think. So the more songs I have to play, the more happy I am. So I keep charting songs mainly because I want to play them, and of course, when I do request, it's for other people, and I like to make people happy around me. So it's just a big thing that keeps my motivation to charting, playing and make people happy about the content they can have in the game. So that's the 2 main things that makes me keep charting songs and not stopping, even if people are like, why? Why do you chart so much?
I feel that would be just a motive for most charters, just to have more songs to play in the game, and to just make people happy to have like a bunch of different artists to play from. Wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of it.
That was a question for everyone, just so you know.
Personally, I think that charting songs can make people discover new music to listen to, and so request more stuff to play, so charters can chart more songs by them, and it's a big circle, in my opinion, on this side. Like you chart a song by a band you don't know, then people are like, hey, this band sounds cool, we need more charts for them. So one charter is gonna chart some songs by them, and then another charter will come up with another band that nobody knows about, and it's just a big thing. And of course, we keep charting songs by famous band. Like I personally chart Pantera songs, Cyclops here charts Dragon Force songs, like
Occasionally.
even if it's already done, he does those songs because we need better charts, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just to kind of think the way how we can make people discover new music and trying music from big bands that was never charted or poorly charted.
And also charting brand new music from like new bands, like new Dragon Force album, Trivium albums, and Judas Priest albums, like the new ones. Just like be the chart at the first release them, and make people happy and be like, oh, this thing just came out. I really wish I could play it. Hey, guess what? There's a chart over there that you could play.
Like when I charted the Scene and the Sentence by Trivium, everybody was like, oh my god, it's already done. And I'm actually, I'm gonna say this, I'm actually proud that I did this album that fast, because I thought it would have taken way more time, but it ended up being pretty fast.
Yeah, that's awesome, to be honest. I really like seeing just like brand new music at charted so fast. So there's one thing that, because charters are pretty much all around, and there's like, I don't know, dozens of chart that come out like every day. So it's kind of in the back of people's minds, but like charters are really the people that kept the community alive for like so many years. You'd agree with that, Jeremy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I really would, because like when it comes to like new music, I mean, like, and charts, it's like it brings new life into the game. Because imagine playing the original game and just having that and no customs existed. You know, it just would go stale after a while. So
Yeah, you'd get bored really fast, even though like if you were grinding songs, you'd just get bored if you didn't have any variety.
yeah, you really would.
So yeah, there's just the one thing that's like that people don't really think about because they see like just dozens of charts come out every day. Is that the charters really just kept the community alive just for years?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna ask this one to Cyclops because I'm sure he's gonna love this topic for himself. But Cyclops, you do a lot of charting. You also do a lot of chart reviewing. What's your charting pet peeves?
Oh god.
Go wild, man. Go wild. I know that you find joy, quote unquote, in reviewing charts. So go ahead.
Oh god, you want me to make a list? Alright, let me think about this for a second.
maximum detail. Yeah.
We've got time, okay. I think the biggest problem that most charters have when they start out, and even like getting 1-2 years into charting, is there's a big problem that people have is inconsistency, where like within a certain section they'll have notes charted to a certain fret, and then when they go forward they forget that they charted those notes to those frets, and then they chart them to different frets when they didn't really need to do that. Or they'll chart the same line differently 2 different times, when it's like this line happens, and then another line happens, and then the first line happened again, but they've charted it differently the second time when they didn't need to. So a lot of people chart forwards without really looking backwards, and that causes them to have problems.
So what are you saying is that someone has like a chorus 1 that's charted, and then the chorus 2 is charted as well, but it's different than chorus 1?
Not even necessarily that. I would say, like, say you have a guitar riff that switches between like 2 different 8-note patterns. And like say you have pattern A, pattern B, pattern A, pattern C, but the second occurrence of pattern A is charted differently than the first occurrence, and when they didn't need to do that. So a lot of the time it's just like you're charting forwards and you're not like looking backwards to see if what you did is consistent with what you did in the past. So that's like the #1 thing that people tend to struggle with in charting. In terms of like more specific things, overuse of 3-note chords is a big thing. For me, I don't use 3-note chords for power chords, and a lot of other charters feel the same way. So like that's a classic Guitar Hero 3 thing. Like basically outside of this, all the long sustained chords in Through the Fire and Flames are 3-note chords pretty much, and they're all power chords. So like people pick up the habit of using using 3-note chords for power chords when that's really not necessary. It just like doesn't really serve to distinguish anything. People using open notes in strange ways is another thing that is like very strange, very frustrating sometimes, because you'll see people like within one section they'll have like 3 different notes right next to each other, all charted to open, and it's basically like they're treating open notes like a 6th fret. I don't personally agree with that. It's sort of a different, it's a thing that some people agree with, some people disagree with. I tend to use open notes as open notes because that's what I think fits for them, and that's like how they were used on the bass in Warriors of Rock, which is like the most recent use of open notes in an official game.
How about, you know, you have some tapping sections, and sometimes, like, when the open notes came out, some people were like, hey, we have open notes here, and how about we chart this tapping section with an open pull-off, and then a hopper after it, and a open pull-off, and a hopper after it. What do you feel about that? Like, what's your feeling about that?
I think that's okay if the open note is actually an open note.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're sort of mimicking, you're sort of like, it's correct, it's also like not unnecessarily mimicking the guitar. Because if you do that when it's not an open note, then you're unnecessarily putting a different kind of pattern playing on the player. Whereas if it is like tapping a note into an open string, it does actually make sense in terms of the way it sounds. Because a lot of the way I think about charting is about how it sounds, and open notes do have a slightly different sound that you can sort of like use to justify them.
Actually, I think I've got one.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
For a pet peeve. This isn't really a big thing, but it's something that I got annoyed with a lot. Primarily because I'm being critical of how I used to do it, was weird forcing.
Oh, yeah.
I used to do a lot of weird forcing with my stuff, where I was very literal with it, and now I'm not so much. I'm kind of minimal with it. But random occurrences of just like 1 or 2 notes that are tap notes.
Oh god, you just reminded me of something.
Things like that. Things being unforced opens when they need to be forced. Just stuff like that. It's really minor, but it's enough to make me get annoyed at it when I'm playing.
And what Chem just reminded me of was overuse of anything in general, like overusing chords when it's like palm muted chords, where like the standard is to chart like resonating chords as chords, and then if they have palm mutes in the same section, you can chart them as a single a lot of the time. But one of the big things is overusing. A lot of new charters overuse extended sustains when they make literally no sense to be used. So like they'll just be like going between 2 single notes, and they'll just like chart as extended sustains, and it doesn't make any sense to use extended sustains out of like a couple of contexts where like a chord that's being like attacked 1 note at a time. If you have like 2 notes that you're holding the bottom note or something, if sometimes you can use them for pitch bends, but that's a bit rarer. And now, as long as I'm talking about sustains, if I'm talking about pet peeves, sustains that are too short and sustains with no gaps between them and the next note.
Mm-hmm.
Because World Tour through Warriors of Rock, those engines were sort of designed with having no sustain gap in mind. But Clone Hero is more built around Guitar Hero 3, which always use sustain gaps. So you should have sustain gaps. And also, like, if a sustain is too short, it just puts unnecessary awkwardness on the player. So at most tempos, like between, I would say like from 120 to 200, you want at least 3 16th notes in a sustain length. And then, like, depending on how fast or how slow you get, you can clip it a bit earlier, have to extend it a bit later.
Yeah, 16 to 30 second. Just depends on the BPM. If it's a lower BPM, use like 30 second. If it's like higher, then like do 16.
Typically, it's around a 16, depending on the BPM. You want to make it a bit less than that. Oh, that's what happened. So with not having cutoff sustains, In Guitar Hero 3, is actually a really big problem, especially if you have two notes that are the same. Like, say if you have two yellows, and you're on star power. If there's no sustain cutoff, or the sustain cutoff is not short, or it's too short, you can't do any whammy for star power on the second note. Like, it's actually impossible. That's not so much of a problem anymore, but it was a pretty big problem for however long Guitar Hero 3 customs were a thing.
However long Guitar Hero 3 was the standard.
That brought me up on something, yeah. I know that they had one of those on Number of the Beast on GH3, like one of the chord sections, like one of the sustains was like a 64th. It made no sense. And
yeah,
under
and
star power.
Also, like, on the topic of sustains being too short, always check your sustains, because like you can often like push especially if you're using feedback or if you're using keyboard mode in Moonscraper, you can press a button to push down to put a note down, and then accidentally tap to move before you release the note, so you get a really tiny sustain. Speaking of sustains, Moonscraper has an option to automatically put sustain gaps in for you, so I would recommend everyone to use it.
Yeah. It's very useful, I'll admit to that.
I love that tool.
Miss, do you have any charting peeps?
Pretty much everything has been said. When it comes to charting songs myself, the only problem is inconsistent tempo, but like I said, it's when I'm charting. But when I see someone's chart also, it bugs me when someone just don't do anything to the tempo map, like changing the BPM when it's needed.
120 BPM.
For example, someone that doesn't tempo map at all and just plays the notes, so it keeps a 120 BPM, which is one of the is the worst case, if not one of the worst. And also, for example, let's take a Metallica song that has an average of 160 BPM, but as everybody knows, Metallica don't play on a clicker, so the tempo has fluctuations, and then younger charters don't understand that, so they just keep 160 BPM straightforward through the song when there is fluctuations, and that's not how you do it.
Google search Master of Puppets BPM.
180.
Yeah, they get one
But
BPM and they just stick
you
to
get
it.
the idea.
They don't change anything in the middle. But yeah.
Yeah, use BPM analyzer, Kappa.
It's a good place to start, and then you have to actually do work.
Yeah, that's the thing, like...
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, though, I was one of those people for like a year and a half that I didn't even know what tempo mapping was. I left it at 120 like Cyclops was saying. Yeah, but, you know, we all improve. You know, you got to start somewhere.
That's actually a good segue into the early days of charting, because I remember, like, we're going to go back to, like, GH2 ISO charting, where you had charting programs, right? But the thing is that you couldn't tempo map them, or, like, you couldn't properly tempo map them, so you just had to put the notes at the, well, where the sound played.
Yeah, like weird spacing, like not on the lines, yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of how the early days of charting happened, and you said it yourself, Jeremy, you just, for a year, you did 120 BPM.
So,
Yeah. I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It helps getting constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
It really does. Definitely, if anybody's looking into charting, please be open to that. It will help you.
My favorite story about the early days of charting is that when I first started charting about 9 years ago, I downloaded feedback version 0.97, and it never updated from that point onwards.
Ever since.
It's been beta ever since.
Turkey Man left the field.
Don't worry, guys. They're still working on the full version. Just iron out some bugs.
It's like the early access nightmare.
Is he still working on it?
It's like if Clone Hero was still in version 13 10 years later.
Is Turkey Man still around?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I have no idea.
Not sure about that.
Didn't he like write his own language to make feedback in, or was that someone else?
Yeah. Apparently, like 2 years ago, he made an update on something on GitHub or whatever, I believe. And
then-
I don't know. I haven't heard from him.
And then
since.
nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
On the early days of charting, you had like the first like charter to get any notoriety was probably Puppets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or Trunks. Trunks has been charting longer than a lot
Puppets
of
and
people.
Trunks.
Yeah.
Pup charting from tabs. Don't question the tabs.
Tabs are accurate.
Oh
always.
no, let's not get into this.
That actually is.
No, no.
That is actually.
nope.
That is actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I tell this story? Because this interaction is like this is literally the first interaction I ever had in charting. This was before I made my first chart.
Yeah.
But I worked in like MIDI editing programs, and since I have a lot of like ear training experience and musical experience, I did like MIDI transcriptions of a few songs. So when I was first getting into charting, I found Puppets' tutorials, and he was like talking about charting from a tab and etc. And the only interaction I ever had with Puppets was I posted in his thread of his tutorial, and it said, "I can't find a tab for this this song that I'm working on, but is it okay if I have a MIDI that I wrote myself?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess that'll work."
I mean, he was nice about it.
Yeah. Okay. But in the early days of charting, you had Puppets, you had Trunks. I think, in my opinion, the best charter around when I started charting and like when I was getting into charting was probably someone like Trunks or Adohu. Adohu was probably the most well-balanced charter back in those days. Like, he had a good balance between charting things accurately, charting things smoothly. But, like, the other thing is, in my opinion, nobody in the early days, including myself, no one was great at charting. People were good at charting, but no one was great at charting.
Alright. Yeah, looking back at, say, Adohu's charts, like, say, his chart for fives by Guthrie Govan, I thought it was just the best thing ever when I first got it. And then when you start doing your own chart of it, you find the little things that you disagree on that one charter did, and you think, nah, that's not right. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Charting as a whole can be subjective. Again, some songs aren't. It just depends. But again, I have to agree, Adohu was probably the best charter back then. Like, I think the first chart I found from him was Time Warp, and even to this day, that chart is really good, in my opinion. It's pretty good.
And the early days of charting were also the days of people having trouble. A lot of people, like, even more so than now, people had trouble accepting criticism.
Yeah.
Because charting wasn't as developed.
Speaking about criticism in a way, since we're pretty much old charters here, I'm just gonna ask the general question: How'd you guys handle it? How'd you guys handle the criticism?
Carefully.
Yeah, very carefully.
Okay.
Very carefully,
So, yeah, go ahead. I don't want to, like, take over the question, so
That's
someone
fine.
can go ahead first.
Jeremy, how'd you handle it?
Okay, well, it's kind of going with the early days. I actually made a chart for, it was a John Petrucci guitar solo, and again, this is before I even knew how to tempo map, and this is Ustream days. I don't remember who it was,
Good
but I
old
sent
Ustream.
it out to somebody, and his response after playing it was, "Never chart again."
Ooh.
Thank God I didn't listen to him.
Oh no.
But, you know, all these guys, we're all good friends in here, and, you know, we all help each other out in the Custom Song Central channel, and, you know, just listen again.
The important thing
Yeah.
about taking criticism and accepting criticism is you have to first realize, okay, is this actually criticism, or is this just someone saying your chart sucks, please go away?
Yeah.
Because the important thing about criticism is it has to actually be criticism. It has to be telling you, this section has such and such a problem that you could fix in a number of ways. This section is overcharted, this section is undercharted, this section, I think there's a different pattern here. Not just, this sucks.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
And that's like something you have to think about both when you're taking criticism and when you're giving criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone is trying to, like, say what they don't like about your chart, but they don't, like, explain it in a good way,
Right.
then it's literally useless.
Yeah, it
to
just
you.
feels like an insult and it's just empty. Like, you can't do anything with it. But if you have someone who says, here's where you can improve and here's how, this kind of thing, then you can kind of use that and use it for your own, advantage to improve on your own charts.
In regards to accepting criticism, I got very recently more picky about my tempo maps. I was only decent at doing them because I was using feedback for a while, and I was starting to get into Moonscraper, which had waveform, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
And also add correct audio calibration.
Yeah. But oh god, I don't want to talk about that. Real quick, feedback has no, like, you can't adjust calibration, so it's stuck at 75 milliseconds or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
always
no waveform either.
No, there's not. So you have no idea if it's right or not. But after Carpal Tunnel Hero 2 came out, I met Cyvash, who gave multiple charters a bit of criticism regards to tempo maps, and
Yeah.
I was a bit skeptical, but then I started opening up my stuff in Moonscraper and things like that, and I warmed up to it, and now I think I do a lot better job with tempo maps, even though it's a lot more annoying now.
I was exactly the same way. He came to me on the, what was that song? Steal Away the Light by Triosphere. I was a little off on the BPM because I had no idea that, I wasn't really big on waveforms. I didn't really, understand the concept at the time. And I feel like based on that criticism that he gave me, I've been improving much more on the actual tempo mapping and make sure it's, on point. But yeah.
So to sum it all up, tempo mapping is the most important part of charting. It's also the most tedious part of charting. And also,
You need patience to do this.
Mm-hmm.
criticism is not a personal attack if it's proper criticism. So learning to distinguish proper criticism from not criticism will make criticism feel a lot less like a personal attack, and then you'll be more open to accepting it, and you'll improve much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. Sometimes I do feel like some of the newer charters blur the line between criticism and just dislike. Like, someone is just like, oh, I don't like this chart is bad, versus there's a thing that's wrong there, you should probably change it up a little bit, it's not on time, here's some changes that you can do to the chart. Sometimes I feel like the newer charters kind of just blur the line between those two. They see the feedback they get, and they instantly think, oh, my chart sucks, oh no.
I'm not going to chart anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, never chart again.
This also almost makes me wanna talk about what happened on Facebook recently. If you guys remember it, with the shred collab.
Oh god.
Oh, drama. Ooh.
Should I don't say any names?
Yeah, keep it anonymous. Yeah.
Okay. So
Spicy.
an old charter, I mean old. He has been around since 6-7 years. Did a chart of the biggest shred collab ever that was released on Christmas last year. When Jdurand, myself, Cyclops, Sygenysis, and Chezzy and Jarvis were working on it, and he posted the chart on the RGC Facebook group, and I looked at the chart because it was the video was out from not even 24 hours, and I was like, nah, he did that pretty fastly. I'm wondering if at least the chart is good enough to general standards, and so I watched the whole chart preview, and I pointed out everything that was wrong, not on my personal opinions, but on a general opinion. Like some forcing that wasn't correct, not placement that was wrong. I pointed out everything, and the only answer I got was, yeah, but what you said is subjective. And I was like, what? This guy has been around since way longer than me and almost as long as Jdurand or Cyclops, and he can't take criticism at all. And afterwards, he sent his fan base roasting me on Facebook, and this went out of control.
Quote unquote roasting.
Yeah, quote unquote, but it was mainly mainly people from his community saying that my charts weren't good enough. They were completely shit, and saying that his charts from this older charter were near as perfect, and that's something that that everybody should remember, because it's not something that we should accept at all, since this person is a respected charter in the community, quote unquote.
I don't think it's even limited to charting. I think it's just in general, with any practice or any hobby really. If there is criticism that's legitimate, you should be able to hopefully accept it and take in what you can.
I spent like maybe 20 minutes to check properly the chart and point out every little mistakes. So I did my best to give the most constructive criticism by explaining everything I pointed out, and everything I got is, yo, this is your opinion, man.
And it's also a 9-minute song, so that must have took you a while to even get through all that.
Yeah, that's a story I will not forget.
My theory is that the people who are most willing to accept criticism are the people who need it the least. Because if you're already willing to accept criticism, chances are you've realized that you're not infallible, and then you're improving because of that, because you're already willing to accept criticism. So the people who are least willing to accept criticism are the people who already think that they're infallible, or that they have the best charts, whatever, or like whatever discipline you're in. So the less willing to accept criticism the more you are, the less likely you are to improve, the more likely you are to just be stuck in a rut, like I was for 3 years because I didn't take any criticism. I've been through that, so I know what it's like. And then you go back and look at your old charts and you realize, oh my god, I was an idiot.
Relatable.
This is the most relatable thing that any of like the top charters will see, is looking at your old charts and being embarrassed.
You'd be cringe. Yeah, it's cringe. It's cringeworthy.
I'm still going back and going through my first chart that I ever did, which would be a good thing to talk about. But my first chart was it was Throwdown by Mike Orlando.
That's
God.
your first chart?
No.
Oh no.
Yep. What was funny about it was that I actually got multiple parts of it correct, like in terms of note speed.
Oh, wow.
I learned how to do stuff like 20ths and all that, but my tempo map was wrong, so it kept getting out of sync.
Yeah.
Now a lot of charters will tell you that their first chart was terrible. My first chart was great. My second chart was terrible. Because my first chart was like computer generated music, so it was really easy to follow along with. My second chart was Storming the Burning Fields by Dragon Force.
Oh. And didn't you review that over a stream? Like, yeah.
Well, it was computer generated metal, but it was still very easy to follow along because everything was like super easily quantized. Everything was very clear.
I mean, Dragon Force is kind of computer generated.
That's true.
Let's not talk about Studio Force Trolls.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sygenysis remember this about my first chart, since we are both from the same place. When I did my first chart, and it was okay, but not that much. I don't know if you remember. It's Sy.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah, I was. That's something unrelated, but yeah, on the Frets on Fire forums, I wanted to do like a review series of my own, like a couple years back, and the first like it was gonna be an interactive one where I just like live, like sort of like the live roastings that Cyclops does, but not as in depth. And I did it for one of Miscellany's charts. It was one of his first ones, and I spent like 2 hours on it, and then I looked at the finished product, and I was like, shit, this is actually a good chart. I don't have that much to say.
My first chart, which was The Gift of Good by Gojira, I don't remember the actual first draft of the chart, because I fixed it pretty fastly in my opinion, but then I came back on it again and fixed almost everything. But the first version of the chart, as I remember, didn't have tap notes, because I didn't even knew that was a thing in Editor on Fire. And I had to have the BPM to have oppose, because I didn't even knew how to force a note. So I had oppose, but I had to have the BPM, and I didn't have forced drums like where it should have been, and I didn't even knew how to play section and star power. But the note placement was good. That's it. But everything else about the details of forcing tap notes, star power, sections, and actually correct tempo map, everything was wrong or inexistent.
Sygen actually wanted to mention something real quick, because we talked about old days of charting, how to accept criticism. Now, I know you have something to say, Cyclops, but I feel like we need to move on to like the current charting status and like the future onwards. So Sygen wanted to mention something real quick.
Yeah, so there's been something that we talked about a little bit. Yeah, I'm going off the script for a second, sorry. But, so there's something you guys mentioned a little earlier, very briefly, but, and I guess this is more for Garry and the audience, but, because I, sorta, kinda know about it, but, so what exactly is the CSC?
What is it?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah. Because I'm playing devil's advocate here. It seems like some commie stuff to me, but I'm willing to be wrong on that. So, while we're here, what is CSC exactly, guys?
So CSC stands for Custom Song Central, and it was an idea from a bunch of us currently in here to provide the community with a bunch of high quality charts, and we've been doing it ever since, and we're going to continue doing that. Does anybody else want to add anything to that?
Is there any chance I could get on there as a charter myself?
Get good
Wink,
first.
wink.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well that's all the answer I
Wink,
needed.
wink.
Okay.
No.
I would add that CSC gives up the opportunity to do collab charting, just like CSC wasn't really a thing since then, but when we did the Bitrate collab chart, the good one, we did a collab charting effort on this, and then we wanted even more to do the CSC, and I won't talk even more about charting collab because it's something that
a little secret.
Yeah, that's a secret thing that will happen actually pretty soon, if I'm correct.
I mean, the first chart that ever debuted on CSC was the If Dragon Force Played Guitar for, which was another collab.
This one was a collab too. I forgot about this one because this chart is terrible, but not terrible because the chart is bad, but terrible because it's insanely difficult.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's FC'd it.
Nobody will.
Darkly got close, I thought.
Yeah.
Close is not FC.
he had a good sight read.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
But yeah, there is stuff coming soon.
Yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming out. Yeah.
So it's all about the community and giving the best content possible.
Yeah, like Sunno.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's just Sun.
Oh, shut up.
Okay.
So, the Custom Song Central.
Yep.
It also has a YouTube channel, doesn't it? If I remember rightly. Yeah, so, like, if you want a good batch of charts, they upload at least every day.
Yep.
Go to Custom Song Central on YouTube.
We
We
up-
have some neat stuff over there. There's also stuff that you can download, like Anti-Hero and Carpal Tunnel Hero 2. Go wild.
There's so many songs available.
Too many songs, in fact.
So many songs. Speaking about all of those songs, how does it feel when you put a lot of time into a chart or charting a whole album, and then you have some of the bigger streamers like Yukog or Jason, Alec or Randy that play those charts of yours? Well, how do you get a good feeling out of it, or is it just like, yeah, he's just playing my chart? This goes out to everyone, of course.
Yeah,
so
it's-
whoever wants to
oh, go
start
ahead.
I
first.
think the biggest thing about seeing a bigger streamer play your chart isn't so much a bigger streamer is playing my chart. It's more my chart is being showed to a lot of people. And if that gives the chance for more people to express their opinions on it, that gives more people the opportunity to discover the music that we're putting out there. So that's my feeling from it. It's more about the more people it gets exposed to, the more people have the opportunity to learn about such and such a charter, such and such an artist. And that's what gives me the good feeling. As opposed to, look, Jason is playing my chart, George is playing my chart.
Yeah.
Hey, I know that some of the newer charters tend to really like that, and when they do good work and they see some of the other big streamers play it, you know, I'm not surprised if they're like, like sort of a little fanboy moment, like, oh my god, Yukog's playing my
I
chart,
think
it's so great.
that's like
And
a problem that some people have is that they're focused a lot on getting bigger streamers to play their chart without realizing that the more they themselves improve, the more likely they are to make a name for themselves as a charter, which then makes them more likely to have their charts picked over like a different chart of the same song when a streamer ends up playing a certain song.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
something
good point.
good to see streamers like Jason or Yukog or even Asai or Randy play the chart, because they have different reactions on the chart. For when Jason plays a song and he's like, oh my god, this is so good. Some other people like Randy will find a good challenge by spinning up the chart, so it's in both cases satisfying. But there is also a bad thing about this, and this is something that everybody here would agree about, is when a chart is kinda tricky and kinda looks overcharted, quote unquote. People first the streamer is like, oh my god, this is nasty.
Yeah.
This is something that qualifies the chart as very strange, almost bad, and then everybody in the chat agrees when they don't even know how to place a note in the software. So this is
Or when Jason says something like ew,
Yeah.
where he means ew is
Yeah.
like, wow, this is hard and I did poorly on it. But people
Yeah.
interpret it as ew, this is bad.
I'm gonna use a very easy example: the Mike Orlando solo medley.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This one is the easiest example to go with, because the chart there is for the changes outro solo is actually extremely accurate, and I think Kim can agree because he worked on the chart.
Yeah, I had to
And-
check over the whole thing.
And
It was
when Jason did the anti-hero pre-release stream, I think he played this chart on this day or maybe the next day, but he played it and we were all like, this is accurate, this is not overcharted, and people in the chat were like, nah,
Yeah.
this is overcharted.
Yeah, a lot of people see something be hard and then they
Uh,
automatically prone it to be overcharged just because they can't play it.
When people can't play something, they are like, oh, this is bad, this is overcharted, or maybe just how it sounds, they say it's overcharted. Like for me, if I didn't knew it was charted accurately, I would have said it's a little bit overcharted. I'm not gonna lie. But I know how serious Chem and 2D Humanity are in their work, like almost everybody in the CSC. I know it's accurate. I trust them, and when I look back and try to slow down the audio from whatever video I can find of somebody playing the chart, I can see why it's accurate. So people who don't pay attention to a chart properly will obviously say something that it's overshadowed or even sometimes undercharted. But this is a rare case, so we can pass over. But in overall, streamers playing our charts is great. But the main problem is some people from the audience.
Like, as you said, if the streamer plays a hot song that you charted and then the hot section comes up, some people in chat will just look at it and be like, oh, that looks overcharted. I get that,
Exactly.
yeah. I completely understand that. I agree with it.
Yeah.
I actually really like that, and so thank you, miss. You, Jeremy?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of going on that, I've had a lot of people come out to me saying, oh, you just make a bunch of hard songs because all they've played is Carpal Tunnel Hero. But, I mean, it's meant to be hard. I mean, the name is called Carpal Tunnel Hero for a reason. But
Wait. Has anybody actually gotten carpal tunnel from playing this project?
I
Gannon
really
Metroid said
hope
he got
not.
carpal tunnel
no.
while he was working on charts for Carpal Tunnel Hero 2.
What was that, Cyclops?
Ganon Metroid said he got like either an RSI or carpal tunnel while he was working on the charts for Carpal Tunnel Hero
nice.
2.
Oh no.
So he didn't get it from playing it, but he got it.
He got it from placing notes.
I mean, the first.
That might not be like purely accurate, but they happened at the same time. So I'm gonna have your
the first chart of CTHU describes exactly how you would feel about playing the next songs. You'll suffer.
You suffer. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole entire set list formed into one. No, not really, but yeah. But yeah,
and it's all played at like 2,000% speed, so it fits into 5 seconds.
it's just a little bit of that, and it's also like, for me though, I try to do a little bit of mixture of, for me though, the big niche for me is trying to find a lot of music that's underrated or people don't even know about. Like for me, I'm charting a lot of jazz because I know that's kind of lacking in the community.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I guess I'm being known for the jazz charter now, but the saxophone guy, but
The jazz
the
man.
jazz, yeah, the scat man. Yeah, but it is a really nice feeling having those people, again, the bigger streamers and just other people giving their input, because again we're all just one person, and having multiple ears and eyes on a specific thing can really help, and it feels good.
Yeah, but another thing is that people often, like we were talking about how people often parrot the opinions of the bigger streamers, and one of the best examples of that is that George doesn't like open notes very
that is
much.
true.
And he's sort of like unintentionally cultivated this entire group of people who just hate open notes.
They're allergic.
And my response is, take a chart with open notes and play it a lot until you learn how to play open notes, and stop complaining to me about open notes because I love them. They are such a great tool for
But
charters.
Cyclops,
Yeah.
open notes
But-
make you gay.
but- Yeah.
Sorry, I was gay long before open notes became
Oh.
a thing.
Well. Oh well.
It made you straight.
It had the reverse effect on me. It made me straight.
That reminds me, while we're on big streamers, when I was first, like, say, first 6 months of charting, Jay found my charts, and that helped me out a lot
Yeah.
for getting a lot of feedback and figuring out what I was doing wrong, which was a lot. And I think I found his videos from like him doing a blindfolded flames run. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found
Yeah, that was
that,
in
and then I got to your
2016.
Twitch channel, and I saw that you had played a bunch of random charts that I had done right around the time that
Yeah.
tap notes became a thing in Guitar Hero 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just so incredible
Yeah,
seeing
and yeah.
someone, especially if you're just starting out, seeing some big streamer play your stuff is just so it's a really good feeling, especially knowing that if you're serious about improving, oftentimes they can give you feedback as they're playing or towards the end of the song.
Yeah, man. I remember finding a lot of your charts again on YouTube. I think the first chart I found from you was your Children of Bodom solo medley. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, I still need to fix that.
And then, you know, at this time, Captain Toasty was around, and then GHX, and I was like, you know what? The thing that actually got me to do Carpal Tunnel Hero, which it wasn't even named that at the time. We all kind of picked a name, kind of did a voting at the end. But there was a set list in 2013 and 14 called Intense Smoke Hero. Shout out to Hodson and Void. It's basically a set list that was a bunch of underrated guitarists, and they were really fun. And it kind of got me the inspiration to kind of like group up with some people that were, you know, had similar interests and wanted to like make make stuff for the community. And with all the positive feedback that we've been getting, you know, CHE is a thing, and we're gonna plan on making a lot more set lists based on that.
I wish I could have made it to CTH1.
Oh man, I found you right after it, which is crazy. And
You can help us fix
yeah,
the charts.
I'm really proud of you guys, though. You guys have come a long way.
No, it's all
Miscellany,
a really
Chem,
long
and
way
JP.
for us.
It's
Stop
all
you
wholesome.
making me gay.
No. Get rid of open notes. I'm tired of being gay. Oh my god.
Get rid of
Wow.
open notes. I'm tired of learning how to play the game.
So,
Be on the
I'm
lookout
sorry, I
for
need to
Carpal
stop.
Tunnel Hero.
I really need to stop.
so,
Just like shut me up whenever you want.
all right. So when you get, so we just talked about seeing big streamers play the charts, but how is it to get like praise on a chart from a completely random person? Like you upload a video preview for one of your charts, right? Someone a little bit after, someone comments on it saying, "Oh wow, this is a really good chart. Thank you for charting this. This is really good." What's the?
I've got a great example.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Camden. In that case.
A great example. Does anyone here remember this one YouTube video for Guitar Hero 3 where this guy he was trying to beat all the bosses as quick as possible?
I think
Do you remember
so.
that?
I think so.
It's like Mad Gamer or something.
Yeah, that name's familiar.
Like, sometime last year, I came across him in Stevie's stream, and he recognized me almost immediately, and he said, "Dude, I love all of your charts. I think they're so much fun."
Wait.
And it was completely out of the blue. I had no idea he was even still around. It's really humbling, though, for me to just hear from random people that they really, really like your charts and they like to play them.
How about you, Cyclops?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the
Oh,
context?
how does it make you feel when you get praise from like random people?
Oh, the random person.
Yeah, the random person praise.
The random person praise is literally like what encourages me to keep doing what I want to do. Because like I've never expect like when I chart some random obscure Japanese Vocaloid metal producer, I don't expect people to know them. And then when people know them and they are happy that I did it, it's like, "Oh my god, my charting life has purpose. I should continue." The biggest thing, I guess, is like people don't really understand how meaningful positive feedback is. Because you don't get positive feedback. You get negative feedback because if people are happy with what you're doing, they're not going to go out of their way to tell you that you shouldn't change what you're doing, because that could be accomplished just by not saying anything. But it means a lot because you don't get it very often for that very reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I have a similar thing as well. And just very quickly, I'll brief over this. So I got a hold of the stems for DJ Hero. Thank you, Chibi. And I saw that there was the stems for Groundhog, and I was like, wow, I can actually chart Groundhog for Clone Hero. And I went to check, and nobody had ever done it. So I was like, alright, so I'm gonna spend a good, 6 hours of my time to get this done. First off, it was a pain in the ass to get the BPM sorted right because it's a DJ song and I don't know much about time signatures. So I spent quite a while charting it. I went over it a couple times. I even sent it over to one of my friends to just be like, is this okay? Is this fine? And he gave me the okay. So I uploaded it on YouTube, and then I got a lot of praise from like people just saying, wait, hold on, there's a DJ Hero song for Clone Hero? But this is awesome. And like I got a couple people come to me saying that it was a really good shot, which actually gave me a lot of like positivity in me. And
yeah, because when you spend that much time on a song, depends on whatever it is, and then you finally get that nice feedback, it's just like a very relieving feeling. It's like, I've accomplished something, and it just gives you more drive to continue doing that same thing, to make people smile and give them, different things that they can try and play, and keeps the community alive.
How about you, Jeremy? How'd you handle the random praise?
Again, it's everybody's pretty much touched on most of it. I'm very happy with what people say, and even negative feedback really helps too. But yeah.
What about you, Miss? How does it feel to get people complimenting on your like Trivium charts and such?
Well, it's something very grateful. People be randomly coming on YouTube, Discord, even Twitter sometimes, saying, "Yo, dude, you charted that song. I wanted a good chart for this song since a long time. Thank you for doing this." Or just somebody saying, "This chart is great. Thank you for charting this," or whatever good things they could say. This makes me happy about what I'm doing. So, like almost everybody here said, it keeps the motivation to chart songs. To do what we're doing, and is a lot of songs that means nothing. But since I'm working on the Trivium discography, and also in the background on the Shadow of Ethan discography, when I see people be like, "Yo, dude, thank you for charting the whole discography. That's great. Thank you so much. We needed better charts," stuff like this. It makes me wanna continue doing this, even if it's gonna be a pain in the ass when I will come to certain songs that I know they are terrible to chart. But I won't stop doing this just because people are happy about it, and when people are happy, I'm happy. And when somebody comes in and says something bad, but without any constructive criticism, I'm just here like, yeah, cool, but where's the criticism, dude? Why do you say it's bad? I want to listen, and then they never come back. So when somebody says something bad, I ignore it because there is nothing constructive about it. But when somebody comes here and say, "Yo, I think this is wrong," and explains why, that's a good thing. I was charting on stream. Just talking about this quickly. I was charting on stream, and I was charting a certain riff in the song, and then somebody came and said, "I think this note is wrong. Just try to slow down and listen again." And this person was right. So I could change what was wrong. So that's a good thing if people can point out what's wrong with my own work.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're a deer in the headlights sometimes if you don't have anybody else there to help you, because if you have like multiple people looking at it, you get a bunch of feedback, and then you can all come to a conclusion where this is right or this is wrong.
Exactly.
And it really helps, and honestly can help and improve a chart from 0 to 100 real quick.
It's just that sometimes when you get the random praise from the random person, it makes you want to chart a whole album. So
maybe not a whole album.
That's quite neat. Maybe not a whole album, but a couple songs from an album.
Yeah, or just keep not stopping charting in overall. Not even continue to do an album, or just some songs by the same band artist, but just charting in general. It helps to keep the motivation about it.
Yeah. And again, I'll rephrase that. The thing that keeps me going is like, I don't know if you guys use Spotify or anything like that, but there's a program on it called Spotify Discover, and every week you're like listening to stuff, it'll recommend you a lot of good stuff. And like I found like half the stuff I've been charting has been from that. And just hearing like new stuff, like wow, this is different, and I'm surprised this hasn't been charted. I'd like to do that. It kind of brings that motivation out of me to do that.
Also, one thing I wanted to touch on, just like, however, in whatever length, is it's like directly related to getting praise from random people. But I know that Miscellany's like gone through this a lot. But how about praise from the people who actually played the music that you're charting?
That's even better. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
That's great.
That's
Great feeling.
like
Yeah.
when a band gives you a shout out to for what you've charted. That's one of the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, because it's the actual band. They're saying, "Hey, this is good. You did a great
Yeah,
job." It's like,
and
holy crap.
there is a band called Nest of Plagues that I charted a whole EP that they did, and they were like, "Yo, dude, every time we release something, we want you to chart the songs," and that's just the best thing that a band ever said to me.
Like they are the opinion right there. They are the band. So you're getting like the best compliment whenever you hear that from like the official
Yeah.
band.
That's the best feeling in the world. It's even better than having big streamers playing your chart and saying the chart is great. That's something that topped this, in my opinion.
You got praise from Havoc once, right? Even Matt
Yep.
from Trivium, right?
Yeah, I remember that day when I woke up and saw that Havoc shared my chart preview, and the band wasn't really saying that anything that, well, this is great. They were just like, "Yo, internet, what's wrong with you?" I think I remember what they wrote. It was like, the day after we released the single, this happened. Internet, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
That was funny, but I was like, yeah, that's a famous band, but that's good if they share the thing. But I would have liked to have an opinion about this. But it's still a great thing that they shared the chart preview.
Yeah. Any exposure is good exposure, I say.
Yeah.
Still waiting for getting some stems from Little Tybee, stuff like that. Sometimes bands will give you like the actual tabs to their songs, like Wide Eyes. This one gen band I liked for a while, and I still like them. Yeah,
I like them.
Yeah,
You showed me them. They're great.
I messaged them once and said, "Hey, this is what I do. I do charting. I make stuff that you can play in Guitar Hero," and I asked for the tabs for this one song, and they said, "Here, you can just have the tabs for our entire discography." Like, just for free. They just gave it to me.
Holy crap.
Whoa.
That's
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a jump up. Jeez.
that's pretty neat. Speaking about tabs, how much do you guys use
A
tabs
little.
for charting? Just quickly to brief
Very
on.
little.
I use it very
I'm
scarcely. Like I mostly trust my ear, and if there's an official music video or like a playthrough of the band, I'll look at that because I know a little bit of some chords on guitar, and but
I
yeah.
personally use tabs when it comes to charting open notes.
Yeah, that's about what I use it for as well.
And even tabs are not 100% 100% accurate, so I'm
Yeah.
always be like, is this really an open note? And then I try to listen to any other open notes that the tab says, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually an open note. But when I chart songs or other songs that doesn't require any open note, I'm just here, yeah, let's chart it by ear, and it ends up being pretty much accurate to how it's played. But like I said, tabs, I use them only when it comes to open notes. Afterwards, never.
The only other things is like I would say for I when I did my 2 charts of Periphery, I watched Bulb's playthroughs of the song so I could like distinguish the different guitar parts.
Yeah.
And also like if it's a really low note, really low distorted guitar, it can be hard to tell exactly what's happening. So I use the playthroughs for like things that are very hard to distinguish by ear. But usually I trust my ear, and it's gotten me this far.
Yeah. And again, just playing over a song over and over again. One thing I was watching in one of the Rocksmith, what was it? One of the interviews with John Petrucci that Jason did. One of the things that stood out to me was what John Petrucci said. He said, kind of like when it comes to listen or music in general, just break it down note per note. Don't look at the whole entire thing and be overwhelmed. The same thing goes with charting, and that goes with tabs or by ear or however you chart. In my opinion.
That's how we end up having some charters stop charting at all. Like, well, the Toasty and Shade, it's because of life, but JP is a good example. Yeah. JP got, I don't know if I can say burned out by charting.
I'd say burned out.
No, it's okay.
really
It's easy to get burned out by charting.
Yeah, I think we can all say that for a fact. We've all been burnt out at one point.
I think Teolia got burned out as well, and he's taking a break right now.
Yeah, but Teolia is a machine.
He also only charts music that was created by machines.
Yeah.
AKA machine drummers.
That's something I told him.
Roasted.
He charts a lot of songs, but all of them are easy songs to chart.
A lot of them follow the same patterns, and a lot of them are on metronomes, which is really nice. But
it's still impressive.
Metronomes are
a
godsend.
You just took the words out of my mouth. It's a godsend. It really is. Because tempo mapping is honestly, when it comes to tempo mapping, sometimes it takes longer than actually putting the notes down. Depends on the song.
Yeah.
If there's no clicker,
I
good
think
luck.
that every charter that has tried to tempo map can relate to that 100%. Tempo mapping is the longest part, and then when you chart the notes in, you go throughout, and then you get hit by a solo, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah.
Those two typically take the longest.
I'm gonna be honest, sometimes some solos are easier to chart than actual rhythm parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Especially in like tech death like some of their genre, a lot of BPM changes and stuff in the strumming.
Yeah. Or just like this Falling in Reverse song, I guess it's the band name, where it's
Born to Lead.
Yeah, where the solo. That's actually a wrong example. Yeah, it's completely against what I was gonna say. Fuck.
Yeah, that solo's pretty intense.
Rusty Cooley. Why Rusty Cooley?
It's a solo. Yeah. That's completely a counterexample.
Oftentimes, Rusty has, I think he plays on a metronome for the most part, but that's not a problem. Or that is a problem actually, because Rusty doesn't ever play on a beat, like ever.
He's pretty sloppy, but he's really fast.
I started to work on the Richard of Dark Matter, but I think I'm gonna give up on this one.
I'm gonna do that. I have my old chart that I started reviewing and I never finished, and I'm gonna finish it.
Dude,
I'm gonna finish Dark Matter.
I'm excited about that. I was really excited about your tapped out chart. I played that yesterday and I absolutely loved it. I love the tap chords in that. That was really cool.
That's the random
Tap
praise.
chords are so fun.
Heck yeah.
Speaking of random
speaking about like metronomes and stuff and charting, how BPM takes normally the longest time. Do you guys have any tips for charting for like new charters that would listen to this?
Never get discouraged by criticism.
Yeah.
Cyclops, say that again.
Never get discouraged by criticism. When people criticize you, they're trying to help you improve.
Jeremy?
The thing is, again, try to look at each note per note. Don't try to look at the whole entire result and thinking, oh no, this is just ridiculous. If you break it note per note, It will take long, but you'll be happy in the end. I promise you.
All right, Miss, do you have any tips to give?
Don't trust tabs at all.
Oh, fair
it
enough.
will end up having a chart that is overcharted, or mainly undercharted. But either way, never trust tabs. It's a good help sometimes when the tab is actually known as being a pretty accurate tab. If it's something that was made by a random Brazilian dude, don't trust the tab unless it's actually rated good with when it's actually off, when it has a good rating. There we go.
Yeah. Ken, do you have any tips?
Yeah, sure. In regards to solos or for any fast part, don't be afraid to use weird quantization stuff if you really have to. Let's say, assuming that your tempo map is correct. A lot of times I see people who just use... Oh my god, Cyclops.
I remember this comment.
I still don't remember what he. I still don't understand what he was trying to say.
It's literally pants, dude.
Please just like put that image on the screen in the video.
That's amazing.
Please
That's
do.
amazing.
That's
No,
a good
but-
example of wrong criticism.
Literally pants.
That's bad criticism.
Because when
Kev.
you have a whole group of charters saying that this comment is wrong,
It's not pants.
there we go.
Is anything really pants though? I mean,
Are we human or are we pantser?
Nice.
Oh no, oh no. Cam, keep going before we derail.
Right,
Yeah.
right. In regards to solos, if you do a lot of fast charting like I do, don't be afraid to use weird quantization stuff. If you're on EOF, you kind of have it lucky because you can do no snap, which oftentimes I have. Well, you can't do that on Moonscraper, but you can get close.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to use weird quantization stuff. If you think it's accurate, make it as accurate as possible, and then start worrying about, like, is it actually playable or not.
Yeah.
Can you explain what quantization step is, just in case?
Yeah, sure. So this is just a music theory thing. Like, say, like quarter notes, that just means you have, if you're in 4/4, you would have 4 quarter notes in a measure. I'll just assume everything's in 4/4 just for simplicity.
Yeah.
So that'd be 1/4. If it was eighth notes, it'd be 1/8, obviously. The normal stuff is like 1/2, 1/4, 1/12, 1/8, 1/24.
16, 24,
Just simple
32.
stuff. But sometimes you do run into stuff that's like 1/20 or 1/36.
Yeah. To explain what Ken meant, that quantization thing is, on Moonscraper, it's that thing on the top left that's 1 to 16. You can change that to be like 1 to 32, right? And whatever you want.
Yeah,
So when you chart solos, don't be afraid to like use weird numbers as long as the notes are still in time.
Yeah.
the defaults are multiples of 2 and 3, but that doesn't mean that they're the only things that you can use.
Yeah, in Moonscraper, you can go to the top and you can actually type in and enter what you want. So, like 20ths, for example, like Ken was saying, where he disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20ths, 18ths are very common because it's like triplets. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to like feel what it is and try to match that to X number of notes in a certain space.
Yeah.
For sure. I haven't encountered, yet. I haven't charted any songs that needed to have anything like 1 to 20 or 1 to 18. The stuff that I've charted has been pretty standard.
yeah, most songs won't, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I literally just charted one that had 120 before coming onto this podcast.
Oh, really? What song?
That's a surprise.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
Ooh.
But, yeah.
Sounds good.
Don't be too afraid to use like 120s, 118s for like solos. Just as long as the notes are synced, you'll be fine. and in time.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Sygen? You chart too. Do you have any tips?
Oh, I do. So, honestly, just after getting your tempo map as perfect as possible, just take the song as slowly as you can. Just like play it down at the slowest speed so you can tell apart like each individual note. Make sure that your notes are consistent, and don't be afraid to get a second opinion on something. But don't let somebody else chart the song for you.
Thanks, Internet.
You're welcome.
It's fine, Cam. We were able to talk about what we needed to.
Yeah, we
Chem
filled in the
sucks.
gap.
About the topic. Yeah. So I'm gonna let Sygen and Miscellany go wild on this one, but you mentioned this earlier. You mentioned Threats on Fire, Sygen.
Oh yeah, I did.
Do you and
I have
Miscellany
a connection to that site.
wanna?
Or the threats
Do you and
actually on
Miscellany
fire.
want to explain? Because I know that Miss started charting from Threats on Fire,
Yep,
right?
that's true.
Yeah.
As did I.
So do you want to explain your experiences with that?
When I started to chart, so when I finished my Gift of Good chart, I was kind of lost on the forum. I'm not gonna lie, and so I started to try to chart other songs, like I mentioned earlier, through thanks to album reviews. I got some early copies of album, but not famous bands. So there was no hype around it. But I charted some songs. But thanks to this, actually, I had the chance to talk to Alex Taylor, who was a great charter in my opinion. I don't know if Sygenysis agreed on that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I would say that for a long time, for like a period of like a year and like a year and a half, he was probably like, I would consider him like the biggest competition to like me as a charter, like on the Threats on Fire forums.
I personally consider him as one of the greatest charter I ever known. He's maybe not the best, but he was one of the best. That's for sure. And so thanks to this, I got advices from Alex, who told me about adding sections, star powers, things like this. He helped me to be pretty much the charter I am almost, because I keep improving in my opinion. But so the whole community on the Threats on Fire forum was extremely the atmosphere was good. So there was Sygenysis here, Siavash, Frugal. There is also To the Humanity, but I don't reckon seeing his name from when I started to chart.
Yeah, he debuted around the same time as you.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
After. Yeah.
And so thanks to everybody from here, I kept improving on charting. I got some good feedbacks. I remember this day when I said that I would chart a specific Scar Symmetry song, and I got M9 on my thread saying, "Oh boy," like. I got actually someone hyped about a chart I was doing, so I was pretty happy, and people were behind me saying, hey, that's a good work, keep improving this and this. And then I ended up being a part of the Phase Shift Guitar Project 3, where I submitted some charts I already done, so I was completely out of the project actually because I wasn't respecting the rules. So the rules were having original charts, and so my charts were made specifically for the project. But Sygenysis was cool enough to let me put some charts on the project. Even to this day, I cringe when I see those charts. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I think you had a pretty good charting debut, to be honest.
Thanks. And the well, what am I gonna say? Around maybe January, February, a while after Jdurand added me to the what became today the CSC. I went back on the farm. I was coming back regularly on the forum, but I posted on a thread and about something that Alex Taylor told me about, but never answered me, and that's when I knew what happened to him, and I was sad because Threats on Fire for me is like a whole family of family, but it's good friends. And when I knew that Alex Taylor passed away, I felt like I lost a big brother, kind of.
Aww.
And for me, Threats on Fire has a big place in my heart, so even if we're memeing on the fact that I'm kind of an hybrid between the GH community and the FOF community, FOF is still a big part of my debut as a charter and will always be a part of me, like Sygenysis or Siavash or M9 or whoever is from this forum and became kind of famous. It's a big word, but I think everybody get the idea. They got more recognition today. But yeah, FOF is something that it's something that I will never. What's the word about this? I won't ignore AOF.
You'll never forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm proud to be a part of this community at first. And I think everybody from here is proud of being from here, because the FOF community, well, who was mainly charting for phase shift, I think that's it, Sygenysis.
Yeah, so yeah, Threats on Fire definitely holds a pretty big place in my heart too. I mean, I can't really say that my time has passed with the site. Like, I still post stuff there every week, but I don't know. A lot of people have definitely moved on from the site and moved on to Clone Hero, which I think is like a much more, I wouldn't say supportive, but a lot more. There's a lot more potential to like become, you know, famous and like respected for your charting work, which on Threats on Fire and like Phase Shift you never really had that, and that was one of the reasons why I moved over.
Yeah, I feel like just because of Clone Hero, you guys had the recognition you should have since a long time ago, because
the recognition. You
yeah,
deserve,
exactly.
you know?
Sorry, and just because I was a part of both community, FOF and GH, I got more recognition than anybody from FOF, and I'm actually pretty sad because almost everybody from the FOF charting community should have as much recognition as I had, but just because of Clone Hero, thanks to that, you guys had all the hype and the recognition you needed since a long time ago, since even before I was even a charter, because I was playing Sygenysis charts, Siavash charts, Frugal. I think I was playing a few amounts of Sleepy Pandas charts and maybe Hugo, but Hugo is Hugo. And I don't know. I feel like you guys should have way more attention that I should have nowadays.
It means a lot for you to say, man.
I mean,
Getting teary-eyed.
I'm saying the truth. I won't consider myself better than anybody. I'm miming about this, but I'm not better than anybody because, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, charting is kind of subjective at some point. So nobody can say that he's better than any other charter. I can't say I'm better than Jdurand or Cyclops. Like Cyclops can say he's better than me or Jdurand. That goes on the same thing. Nobody
Yeah,
can
it's
say he's
it's
better.
like the same thing with like comparing who's better at guitar. It's all subjective,
Yeah.
and you know, at the end of the day, it's all for fun, and we do this for the community. So I mean, that part of it isn't even important.
Exactly.
You know.
So that's it. I think I said almost everything I had to say about FOF. It's a big family, a big group of friends that help me to get better every day, and everybody from here just need more attention because their work are insane, and they kept they kind of kept the community alive at some points because, well, we are all here today. The GH charters and the FOF charters on the same place now, who's charting for the same game, even if some people are still charting for Phase Shift or FOF. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just growing pains, really. But at the end of the day, it's awesome that we have this whole team of people that have such different backgrounds from different communities. I love that.
I can say I built the bridge between GH and FOF communities.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually got emotional hearing that. It's quite a lot. You're really passionate about FOF. That's really nice to hear. Oh.
I mean, if I was from the GH community at first and then was playing my stuff on FOF Phase Shift, I'm just saying this like this, so I'm not going to talk of T3. But if it was the other way, it would have been completely different in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd get that. That was a really nice story. Thanks for sharing. Actually, yeah.
I mean, Sygenysis is from here for a long ass time, and he didn't even say a lot of things.
Oh well.
I mean, I'm here as a host. I don't have to say that much, you know.
I mean, you can if you want. You can go ahead.
Ooh, I can? Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so...
Go ahead.
Talk about your 1,000+ charts.
Yeah, no, I can't believe I haven't even said that. I've just been like, ooh...
Yeah, man.
Reeling with anticipation to say,
I mean, Sygenysis...
You're waiting for someone to lead you in.
Yeah, so, like, who's charted the most songs out of everybody here?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
I'm surprised we haven't said that yet.
That's a yeah.
That is... Alright, well, I mean, you guys can go first.
I mean... Sygenysis has a lot of things to say about FOF because he has been around on the forums since longer than I've ever been on the forums, so he has a lot of things to say, I think.
Yeah,
well,
Sygen, go wild on FOF then.
So as long as I've been charting, I've posted all my stuff on the Frets on Fire forums just because, well, that's the first thing that I knew about, and now at this point I'm a moderator for the website, so I'm in a little deep, and it'd be really weird for me to just stop posting there now, and I don't know, it's not just like the Frets on Fire forums though, like, because I was trying to do as much as I could to, like, you know, get recognition, because that was one of the most important things to me, even if it is, you know, kind of selfish, but I do definitely say that I chart for other people first, but so I tried to be as part of as many community projects as possible, just tried to make a name for myself in the community, and I was pretty lucky compared to a lot of the other people on the Frets on Fire forums, because all my songs were also being ported over to C3, and I have like a ton of charts over there and I think that C3 is an example of, even though like the people in the Clone Hero community meme on them all the time and like the database of charts like that are on course and whatnot, but I think for a long time C3 was a really supportive community, and like people were always down to give feedback and show their appreciation, and I feel like on the Frets on Fire forums, you never really got that too much. Because, I mean, some people were definitely nice and, like, showed appreciation, but, for the most part, I could definitely say that, like, the Guitar Hero communities and C3 communities were pretty supportive. But I wouldn't trade my time that I spent on the Frets on Fire forums for anything else, so... Yeah, that's about it.
That's pretty amazing. So I actually really like that story. I'm gonna say it twice because it was that good.
All right.
But yeah, we mentioned who is the person that has the most charts here. We all know the answer, right? But let's go one by one from top.
No, I've got a better one for you. Miscellany's already heard this one before, but I'll say it again. All right, so people always ask, who's the person that's charted the most songs? But people never ask, how's the person that's charted the most songs?
Oh.
Yeah, as a person.
How is the person that charted the most songs then?
I'm doing great.
Oh, great! Nice.
Well, I don't even. Okay, well, I don't want to. Okay, no, I don't even know how many charts.
You're
everyone
like the
else has done. I don't want to say
buckethead of
anything.
charts,
I'm sorry.
man.
All right, hold on. Let's go from top to. Let's go from top to bottom. I'll ask Cam. Cam, how many charts have you done? If you don't know
Not a
exactly,
clue.
give me an average.
Well, I'd say around. I'd say around 200 to 300.
Cyclops.
Probably like, I don't know, like maybe 100 guitar charts, maybe 150 guitar charts, maybe like 50 drum charts, and like 10-15 pro keys charts.
Nice.
But I had this whole hiatus, and I also have this thing where I don't chart for quantity because I want to like feel good about what I'm doing, and I personally don't get like a lot of enjoyment out of just like pumping out charts.
Yeah.
So I try to just like not push myself when I'm not motivated, or else I just like do half-assed products.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
So for me, it's more like I chart when I'm motivated, and that's how I have the number of charts that I have.
All right,
Okay.
I was just counting my charts. I have 18.
That's
I don't
still
even know
pretty
how
good
many I
number.
actually have. I just
I
like.
literally just want my Google Drive to count. I have 18 in total that are out there to download.
I thought you would have had more than that.
I don't. I have a lot of unreleased shit.
Yeah, same.
What about you, Jeremy? How many charts have you done?
So over the years, I had some bad charts and I've had some good charts. The ones that I'm most proud of, though, I'd say like that I can say, I'd say about 300 or so.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's a nice number. You, Miscellany?
I'm actually 8 shots away from my 350th shot.
Look at these people actually like keeping track of how many charts they have.
Spreadsheet.
After a certain point, you just kind of have to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I stopped keeping track at 10.
And
Kinda just like,
10. Chem has 10 charts.
Yeah, Cam has 10 shots.
I'd like to say that I'm pretty impressed by the amount of shots I did in how many times I've been shouting, and I want to die at some point. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, your wish will be granted. We're not immortal.
That's true, but the man, the myth, the legend is Sygenysis.
So yeah, Sygen, how many charts do you have? You have like
I've got the
12?
exact count. Yeah.
12 maybe?
Well, a little around that ballpark.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Is it like 10 times more than that or 100 times more than that?
It's how does math
It's a
work?
few.
It would be 100. Yeah.
It's like 1,200 songs maybe. Don't you have a screenshot of this?
I'm not too up to date on that, but I do have the exact count because I've got spreadsheets with metadata for every song in them and all that good stuff.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So
Yeah,
tell us
exactly.
tell us how many songs you've charted.
Okay, I've charted 1,282 songs.
Jesus.
Let's point out that most part
mean,
of Sygenysis shots are full bands.
How many
Yeah,
charts
that
do you do
too.
a day?
In terms of
He's the
quantity,
madman.
You're underestimating how much free time I had for like 2 years in a row, where I just did nothing but chart.
I feel the
So,
same,
mean,
dude.
In
meanwhile,
terms
you have
of
Miscellany who pumps a chart out every day, and then Sygen just steps in and is like, yo, I have like 1,000+ charts.
You are like
I
a
just don't
little
have
baby.
previews
Watch
for everything.
this. You are like a little baby. Watch this.
I may be surestimating me, but at the speed as I shot, I may be able to top Sygenysis at some point.
When I stop, you can definitely top it.
yeah, when he's in the nursing home and he can no longer chat, then you will be able to catch up.
In almost 2 years, I almost got 400 shots.
Wow.
Ooh.
Which is a ton.
That's more than one a
But
day.
it's not full band,
The
so it
guy
doesn't
she tells
count.
you not to worry about.
You
You versus the guy she tells you not to worry about.
Exactly.
Miscellany versus Sygen.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Lordy.
It's not a
So-
race to who will be the channel that has the most songs done.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
well,
Okay.
it's-
Space
well,
race
well,
of charting.
Although I win the competition, there isn't one.
There is no competition because I win.
But it's not a race about who will be the biggest channel ever. It's all about fun. We're just miming about this.
Yeah,
If
but
Yeah,
it is?
Yeah, exactly.
even though it's not a race, who's the first one to hit 2,000 charts?
Does
I
anybody?
actually have 1,500 charts on the backlog that I'm just gonna release all at once, and you're all gonna hate me.
Oh, you better not.
Oh boy.
1,500 charts in one video. Let's go.
Cyclops hero, 1,500 charts.
Actually, as a thing that just popped into my head real quick. We know how about we give tips for charting.
Yeah.
Just really quick before we finish this off. How do you do differ? Oh well, rip English. How do you know the difference between a hopo or a tap note in a solo section?
The sound.
Listening,
Oh.
very very careful listening. Like you
Yeah.
learn if you can see a person playing it, it's better. But mostly it has to do with, for me, with listening.
Yeah.
Listening for pick sounds to denote something not being tapping.
Yeah.
Listening for
And
like.
Yeah.
There's a
Sometimes with
distinction
charting, you can do specific effects, like if there's like an reverb echo effect on like a fade out or something, you could use that as a terms for like making it tap notes instead of like hammer-ons. Or
Yeah.
if it's a synth solo, obviously, or piano, you can make that taps.
Yeah. You could
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing for distinguishing tap notes from not tap notes is just the very carefully listening to like the difference in tone between tapping and not tapping, and sort of like internalizing that difference and then using that in different contexts with different guitarists, with different guitar tones, and trying to just like use your best judgment. And also it helps to know a little bit of what's going on with the guitar playing itself, so you can be like, okay, this section would be literally impossible unless it was tapping it, so I'm assuming he's tapping it.
Yeah. Example, John Petrucci. He like, or Zach Wilde, for instance. He likes to strum like everything when he sweeps. That wouldn't be fun if it was all strums. So you gotta
Yeah.
make them hammer-ons. So yeah, there needs to be a balance between accuracy and fun, but mostly accuracy.
Yeah.
What were we saying? Make everything strums?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say,
make everything strums. Heroes of Our Time, Guitar Hero free DLC chart.
Everything open, tap, hobo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the things. That's my bet there.
Yeah.
Extended
I would-
sustains.
Extended sustains with hopos and tap notes.
Yeah.
Don't forget to not cut anything.
And open
No,
notes in
it's-
the middle.
No sustain cutting.
It's a giant green sustain for 5 minutes with a bunch of taps.
One blue note at 1 BPM.
Yep.
I think we all know someone who does
Oh.
open note sustains in this community. I'm not going to mention your name, but please don't do that anymore.
Oh no.
Enough said.
Oof.
All right. Well, it's not me. So.
Yeah, we're all
We're
good.
good.
Yeah, the thing about open note sustains, they don't really
Bark,
work
bark,
that
bark.
well, so just don't use them.
Yeah.
Like, they just
Open
don't
note
work.
sustains work fine unless you extend them.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Don't do
Open note sustains,
extended.
I actually like. The thing about open note sustains is that I typically would use them to, in a pattern where there are other sustains, and it makes sense for the open note
Yeah.
sustains to be there. To be like, visually representative of the same thing happening. But open note extended sustains literally don't work, so stop using them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Until they do, just don't.
I don't know. It's
Just
it's
don't.
weird. I mean, don't use them, but if you do, it kind of makes the highway look blah. Yeah, I've pretty much mentioned everything that I want to. There was one topic that I wanted to mention, but I don't think I'm going to mention it since it might just cause too much drama, and I can't be bothered to handle that.
We love drama, though. So
Yeah,
you should
we
say it
love
anyway.
drama, but, like, I can't be bothered to handle it once this podcast goes out.
We love trauma.
The audience loves it too. It'll be fine.
So, okay, I'll just brief over it quickly. When you have, like, such a huge group of charters, and you have arguments between two other charters, and they fight back and forth, probably more a question to Jeremy, since you've been around long enough. How do you deal with that sort of thing, like moderating?
being the referee, basically? Or
Yeah,
just
there you
giving
go.
it for- Well,
1v1, no items, Fox only, final destination.
yeah, Super Smash Brothers. That's a good question. You know, it really honestly just depends on the situation and if what other people agree on. My opinion on specific things doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. You know, everybody has their own point in this whole entire charting thing, and I feel like if we all work together and try to help people out instead of just, you know, bashing people and not giving constructive criticism, then it, you know, it'll go a long way. So, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's honestly a perfect answer for me. I just wanted to quickly brief over that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any names you'd want to name? You know.
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
Sygenysis.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yes,
Cygen, you're getting banned after this. Confirmed.
That's fair.
F.
So,
Not that unreasonable, to be honest.
You're out.
Oh, I'm out.
you're out. Community ban.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, I'm taking it from you, Cyvash, if you're there.
Oh no.
No.
No, please.
Alright. Well, that's pretty much the end of the Charters podcast. Thank you very much for all of the hosts that came on. It was a little bit of a mess to plan, but we got everything done, and it went really smoothly. Despite a little bit of things here and there, but it was fine. So I was your host, Garrythemod, for this podcast, with also Sygenysis.
I was also here.
Yes, he was, and he did do some talking, if I remember rightly. And we had our guest, which was Miscellany.
Bye.
We had
Classic.
good old
I
Jdurand.
have nothing to say.
Hello.
And Cyclops Dragon. Hello. And Chemfinal.
Chem sucks.
Chem sucks. Confirmed.
Chemistry
Chem
final.
Chem
monkey.
paste.
Alright, so that's the end of the Charters podcast. I hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you guys for the next podcast. Bye bye.
I hope you do too.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Ah.